This month's edition of Close Up in Class looks at net neutrality and regulating the internet. Chance, should the government ensure that every internet user has equal access to all legal content?
I think it's foundational. I think when it comes to the policy that we're advocating for at the FCC, it's about the two-way communication that happens on the internet. It's not about the content that travels over the internet. What it's about is making sure that the people that we pay for that connection to get online don't do anything, don't act as gatekeepers or stand in the way of what we want to do.
What we're seeing with some of these new ideas like Netflix and Hulu and video services is that people are using more internet than anyone ever thought. Once we had the internet, then people started finding new ways to use it. But the more we're using it, the more it takes, the more it costs to invest and build up the internet access to be faster for everyone. In the early days of cable internet, there were these ads talking about, don't be the neighborhood internet hog, because there wasn't very much internet bandwidth to go around. But we're building more and more. So what these internet fast lanes are is they give a company like Netflix the option to say, hey, look, we want to make sure our customers can get the fastest possible service. And they're paying us for that. So we want to pay you and make sure that we're taken care of, that people can get the highest quality service and not just be stuck with the same service everyone else gets. It's flexibility. In fact, phone companies are already allowed to do that. The more highly regulated industries, the ones that have more government involved, are already allowed to do that. All the internet fast lane idea says is we're going to give internet companies the same option that the phone company gets, to give people the option to pay more, to use more.
Neil, is a fast lane needed to provide top-notch quality video over the internet?
What we're seeing with video is that it's, with the internet giving anyone a direct access into people's homes, we're giving more people the option to broadcast video. Instead of it being a very narrow, limited option that only a few companies have an option to do, now anyone can do it. And the more that's out there, the more people are going to want to use it. 5 years ago, nobody imagined that people would want to watch video games streamed online on Twitch.tv. But now it's a booming thing. It's one of the biggest video services around. That's why it's becoming a bigger issue, and that's why we need to make sure that the money is there to grow it, and that's why the fast lanes are so important.
The other side argues that this is all about video because it's about their business's bottom line when it comes to video. Keep in mind, the companies that you pay for your internet service are the same companies that have video service like cable television. And they really want to protect that business. A lot of folks, especially younger folks, are making the decision to cut the cord. People don't pay for cable television service in the same way, to the same extent that they used to, because we're in this brave new world with all of these other options where we can watch what we want when we want to watch it. I myself don't subscribe to cable TV. I have a high-speed internet connection, and that means I can use Hulu and Netflix to watch what I want when I want. And cable companies don't like that. They would much rather you pay them for cable service as well as that high-speed internet connection. They see Netflix and Hulu as a threat to their business, and that is exactly where we want to have rules so they can't stop the innovation that is happening there and limit the choices of people.
It wouldn't be all or nothing, where if you're not in the fast lane, you don't get internet at all, because we have competition. And in fact, I think the competition keeps growing. Google is putting out their fiber optic service. There's wireless service, there's satellite service. If your cable company's not giving you what you need, you can just go somewhere else. And because in America, the wireless service we have is the best in the world. And it just keeps on growing. And I think that's a threat that's going to force companies like Comcast to compete more and more in the years ahead.
Will we have a blurring of the lines between cable and the internet?
I think that's a very good question, because I think those lines aren't going to matter as much anymore. Before, we had to have a phone company and a cable company and a TV company, and they were all separated, but now it's all just data. So as long as we can make sure that people can get their internet access, it doesn't matter whether it's a phone company or a cable company. You know, one of the biggest internet companies out there these days is a bookseller, Amazon. It's all data now. So I think if we try to apply the old way of doing things, the old rules, the old government, that's just going to hold us back from people coming up with new ways to do this.
Chance, is it almost impossible for the government to regulate the internet?
I don't think that that's the case. And again, we're not talking about regulating the internet. We're talking about the transmission. We're talking about our internet service providers. You know, I think that's the way that the law was written in 1996. The FCC made some unfortunate decisions a while back that has created this legal mess. There's been multiple court decisions at this point that have said to the FCC there is a way that you can put these rules in place. There's a path that's very clear. There's a path that is recognized by legal experts here in Washington, D.C. There's a path that is recognized by people all over the country who are calling for the FCC to reclassify the internet as a communication service. These are folks that are weighing in to the tune of millions. These are people who are calling the FCC, have been inundating the FCC with phone calls for the past couple of weeks, have been contacting their members of Congress. So this is what the people want. And at the end of the day, the FCC is an agency that is there to serve the public interest. It is not there to negotiate fights between one industry or another. This is about our rights to speak freely online, and that's why so many people are concerned about it.
I expect the FCC is going to try again. They've attempted to pass net neutrality twice before, and the courts have said no both times. But I think that there's an enormous amount of pressure from the president and his supporters to try to find something that the courts will allow. And I think that FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler will try. I don't know exactly what he'll try yet, but he'll try something.
One of the things that we do know is that the FCC is lobbied very heavily by the industries that it regulates. There are people from cable and phone companies that have regular meetings at the FCC, that have standard access, that can always talk to, communicate with the folks there and help to shape their opinions and shape the policy. You also have public interest organizations like Free Press and many others who are engaged in this process, but certainly don't have the resources of a giant company. So we do our best to bring the people's voices to these issues, and I think the people's voices are getting even louder. And if the FCC actually listens to the people that they serve, their true constituency, I think we would see rules that would be much more reflective of what people want.